If you're experiencing paranormal activity, be sure to check whether you're one of the marked ones. Hi everyone, it's me, Ben Almaden, and welcome to Entertainment Zone. I'm here today for my review of Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones. Now let's go over some background information in regards to this film. So at the end of Paranormal Activity 4, right after the credits, we had a bizarre post-credit scene, set in this bizarre, shop with Mexican characters and this strange old Mexican lady rambling, and no one really knew what it was about. And then the next thing we know, they're announcing there was going to be a Mexican spin-off film. And then October 2013 came around, and there was no sign of either that film or Paranormal Activity 5. All we'd had after Paranormal Activity 4 was the Jacob DeGloshy YouTube viral campaign. Then came the announcement that Paranormal Activity 5 would in fact now be coming out in October 2014, but that the Mexican spin-off was still planned and still happening, and that it would come out in January 2014, and that its rumoured title, The Oxnard Tapes, was not in fact correct, and that the movie would now be called Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones. And that brings us pretty much up to date. So the film is a spin-off from the main Paranormal Activity series. However, it does tie in to the main series heavily. For the most part, I would say anyone who hasn't seen the first 4 Paranormal Activities and goes to see this one, it's fine. You don't really need too much background information. But for those that have seen it, there's so many Easter eggs in there and so many clues about what's going to happen, what could happen, and nods to the past films. But the way the film culminates, I think anyone who hasn't seen the first 4 is going to walk out of the cinema feeling a little bit lost, a little bit confused. So how does it rank in the series? It's pretty high for me. I am a massive fan of the series, really loved the first 3 films, and the 4th one was a little bit of a step backwards. It's enjoyable, but wasn't great, And boy, has Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones, brought the series back up to its former glory. It's a really, 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 really well done film. It's written by Paranormal Activity scribe Christopher Landon, who worked on the sequels to the original. But he also had the chance to direct, and I think having been involved in the series so heavily for the last couple of years, he really knew what he was doing. He knew the story he wanted to tell, and he knew how he wanted to tell it visually and how to do it. And they really got the right man for the job, and I'd like to see more from Landon. There are some really cool new concepts in the movie. Without giving too much away, you're going to see a whole new take on a Ouija board that's very comical, but at the same time very spooky. There are 1 or 2 silly jump scares, like Paranormal Activity 3 and 4. However, there are a lot of creepy, really, really creepy moments in this film, and some genuinely shocking moments. I think, without giving too much away, we'll go into spoilers later, the ending of the movie, I think, could be divisive. Personally, I thoroughly enjoyed the ending of the movie. But I think it may cause some fans to question whether the franchise has jumped the gun a little bit. Personally, I just say bring on the, however many next amount of sequels or spin-offs we get. Now, I want to say something about the cast of characters as well. As it's a spin-off, the characters are, unrelated for the main part to the previous series. And it centres more around a Hispanic American community in Oxnard, California. And the 2 leads in the film, Jesse and Hector, the actors playing them did their roles phenomenally. Andrew Jacobs played Jesse and Jorge Diaz played Hector. But not even just those two, the whole film was cast perfectly. The casting director on this film did an amazing job. And something else that both the actors and Landon's script did well is that, like Katie and Mika in the first film, you really care for these characters. We get time to grow attached to them, to learn about them, to relate to them even. And you care about them, and therefore you care about what could or what does or what might happen to them over the course of the movie. If I was to say how this movie is tonally compared to the other entries in the Paranormal Activity series, it very much reminded me of the first movie with elements of the third. And do you know why I think this film is so similar tonally to the first movie? I think it's because it really feels like a good haunted house movie. Because a lot of the action takes place in the apartment of a spooky old lady called Anna, who dies near the beginning of the film. The apartment's unknown to Jesse and Hector and their group of friends. And it's unknown to the audience, so everybody, both the characters and us as an audience, feel tense there, and that for me really made the film in the same way that the first film was creepy because it was something unnatural in the home, and this was again a creepiness of an everyday suburban setting. For me, I was just thoroughly impressed. I give the film a 7 out of 10, 4 out of 5. I just left feeling wow. Some very clever ideas, and most importantly, it added more to the mythology of the series. We got some answers at long last, because that's what we want at this stage now. 5 films into the series, we want answers, and we get some. But Paranormal Activity being Paranormal Activity, it does raise some more. So if you haven't seen the film, I recommend it. If you want a good, decent horror, you'll enjoy it. If you're a fan of the series, you really will enjoy this film. I guarantee it. And as I said, the Easter eggs and nods to other films in the series is incredible. So go out and see it. But now we're going to talk spoilers, so if you haven't seen the film, really go out and see it and then come back. So this is your spoiler warning. So the first spoiler I want to discuss is the return of Ali from Paranormal Activity 2. She meets up with Hector to try and explain what's happening to Jesse. He's being marked, and explaining why. She explains about all the stuff that the Coven have, kind of been doing, and that male children, seem to be groomed in preparation. The firstborn heirs are selected in preparation, and at the age of 18, are selected to become hosts for the demon, and that this is what's happened to Jesse, and earlier on in the film, Jesse's friend Oscar. And it was great to see her in this kind of role. She seems to know a lot about the cult now. She seems to have done her research since we last seen her, whether she's working on her own or whether she's working with others, or maybe she's a double agent working for the cult. Who knows? But she seems to know a lot about what's going on, including that Grandma Lois's house is still, after all these years, being used as a ritual site, and I was scared to death at the end of Paranormal Activity 3 at Grandma Lois's house. So when this film culminated there, I was cacking myself. I was just like, oh, I can't believe we're back here again. And it really was as spooky. There was comical moments such as Arturo shooting women with guns, blowing them apart, but it was very tense, very creepy stuff. And possessed Jesse, it was just as creepy as possessed Katie in the Paranormal Activity sequels. Now, another spoiler I want to just discuss with you is that when Anna, the old lady who dies, they go into a flat and find all these books on the cult and the demons, and they learn that very skilled witches, very skilled members of the coven, and the demons can create this door to the past, but we learn that they can only go back to unholy times, unholy places. And I picked up on that when it was first mentioned. I thought, oh, okay. And then that paid off at the end of the film, and this is where I think fans are going to question whether when I mentioned earlier, when I think fans are going to question whether the series has jumped the gun or not, because when Hector is running away from possessed Jesse in Grandma Lois's house, the demon opens one of these magical portal doors, and Hector goes through it and is taken back in time to 2006, on the night that Katie killed Mika. He's in Katie's house. She comes down to get a knife. She sees Hector. Mika, she screams for Mika. Mika comes down. She murders him. Then Jesse appears and kills Hector. And then the last thing we see is, the very last shot is some woman turning off the camera. There's a lot of debate going on online about who this woman was. For me, instantly, I thought, oh my god, it's Grandma Lois. And I don't think Lois was credited in the film. I didn't see her name there. But I'm pretty confident it was her. I remember how creeped out I was about her after Paranormal Activity 3. I never forget her face. I'm fairly confident it was her. Other people are saying it's someone new. Some people are saying it's the caged up woman from Lois's house in the present day. But who knows? But the big question is, if it is Grandma Lois, that means she could still be alive and that she's faked her death. And she seems to be the leader of the cult, you know. She's in photos with Jesse's mom and Anna, the witch who dies at the beginning of the Mark ones. So she's got a big role in this coven, and if she's alive, what consequences does this have for Katie? Possibly for Alex and Paranormal Activity 4 if she's still alive. For Jesse, you know, it's a big thing. It really changes what we know about the series now. In terms of scares, it was just so... It was more creepy, this film, like the first one, like people disappearing, things vanishing, and long, tense moments with that, you know, bass rumbling underneath. It really reminded me of the first film, and that's what I enjoyed about it. But there were some brilliant scares. The trapdoor scare was amazing, and the scene where the grandma and Hector are trying to help Jesse, and then, you know, he vanishes and then appears through a portal, and all the stuff in the house comes through this portal and everything explodes. That was just... oh, it made me jump out of my skin. It was really well done. And then, as I said, that ending, going around Lois's house, all of Jesse and Hector's friends being picked off one by one in horrible ways. These creepy old women. Paranormal Activities made me scared of old ladies. It was just done amazingly. Some real original stuff in the film. And finally, as I mentioned, there's been loads of nods to other hauntings and experiences from the past Paranormal Activity films. The word Mayus is written on Jesse's wall while he's being slowly taken over by the demon. We have the infamous symbol of the coven. We have the fact that Grandma Lois's house is being used. We have the great cameo by young Katie and Christy in Anna's basement. What's going on there? Some demonic illusion. Have they travelled through time? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. But yeah, and then of course the ending, and you know, I had a feeling Katie would be in this film somehow. Wasn't expecting it to be like that. She's a welcome addition, but it's also great to have Mika back. First time since Paranormal Activity 2. So great to have him back. So let's wrap it up there, folks. Where do I rank this on the series? It's near the top. Paranormal Activity 3 still my favourite, but the marked ones is up there near the top. If you've seen the film, please let me know your thoughts and theories on the movie in the comments below. Paranormal Activity 5's out in October, so I'm sure the behind the scenes news will be going into overdrive regarding that very, very soon. So be sure to subscribe for all the latest news on Paranormal Activity and for the latest movie news and reviews. Okay guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.